So today I want to go through LinkedIn. We are focusing just on LinkedIn, but I will talk very briefly on some of the other platforms as well. So a bit of interaction from yourselves to find out who's using it and how you're using it. We'll talk about how to make the most of it, particularly from a business development perspective. And then at the end, I've got a couple of slides in about business development kind of / networking, because I think it's really, there are some really positive things happening at the moment. I wanted to share some of my experiences and to encourage you all to maximise the opportunities. Next slide, please, Caroline. So we're going to go over LinkedIn, the who and the why, the basics, how to create content, making life easier and policies. And then, as I mentioned, we'll talk a bit about business development, and then there'll be some time for questions and answers. So if we can come off of the screen sharing view for a second, Caroline, can we just do a show of hands? Are you all on LinkedIn? Is that everybody? There's an empty screen. Yeah, perfect. And we're going to skip a slide when we come back. But those of you that you're all on LinkedIn, you all understand why you're on LinkedIn?
Not really.
Not really, no. It's definitely a mix. I can't see who said that. Those of you, I think Stuart, you nodded when I said, do you know why you're on LinkedIn? So sorry to pick on you, but why are you on LinkedIn?
Well, it's just a networking tool for peers, contacts, clients, colleagues. I just see it as a business version of Facebook.
Yep, so it's the kind of way of staying connected for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Is anyone else using it for other reasons? Nope.
Yeah, we use it for recruitment.
Use it for recruitment?
A bit now, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Jonathan. We did use it for recruitment a lot for you, didn't we, with the headhunter lady. Can we go back to the slides, Caroline, please? So if we jump a couple, the next one. So with, this is just a bit of theory. So with the social engagement model, what we're probably all doing is connecting. So we're making new connections and growing our network. And we're also broadcasting. So a lot of people have got to grips with the fact that they now need to share information and talk about what it is that they're doing. What ideally, to get maximum value out of any social media tool, is to be in the top right-hand quadrant, which is where it's highly targeted and highly engaged, and that's where you're going to be having the conversations. So most of you will be putting posts out that sometimes have no engagement. There's not people commenting on it, they're not liking it, and they're not sharing it. And you'll see other people doing the same. So it's to try and get under the skin of your connections, get under the skin of your content, of your specialism and what you're talking about, to really start to get those conversations happening. It's probably easier now than ever to do that, providing you're willing to be quite open in your content. And it's not about selling, it's more actually being about you and who you are and your kind of beliefs and things. The more controversial you're willing to be, and if you are naturally a controversial person, then the more engagement you're going to have, because people quite like debating and sharing their own thoughts on things. So it's very useful with LinkedIn to find people on there that are influencers and to see the types of things that they're sharing. There's definitely, I don't know if you've all found, but certainly I have in the last month, people are being a lot more honest. So they are sharing their own experiences. And there was a post that came up for me a couple of weeks ago now, where there was a chap who was really kind of bearing his soul about how hard he's finding all of this, and wasn't quite sure what to do with himself, and was basically asking quite publicly for help. And it got a phenomenal amount of engagement. Now that's not necessarily going to generate him any business for whatever it is that he does, but it did get into that conversation section for the social engagement model. He was making new connections, he was having conversations, and you're probably, when you are being honest like that digitally, you're skipping a couple of steps in the building the trust, because you're obviously an honest person. Can you go to the next slide, please, Caroline? So with LinkedIn, one of the things I'm really happy to do for all of you off the back of this is review anyone's profile. So ideally, you need to make sure that everything on there is up to date. you'll have past jobs. Go back as far as it's relevant. You know, you don't need to have the bar job you did when you were at university in there, but everything that you did that was a proper job, with a description of what you did, even if it's not relevant today, is worth having in there. It's going to make it easier for past colleagues to find you. It's going to make it easier for people to have a picture of who you are and what your overall experience is. A really great way to grow your own connections on LinkedIn without having to do too much reactive work, proactive work, is to just have a connect with me button on your email signature. Do many of you have that? No? So that's a really easy thing to do. You can just go into your settings and add a hyperlink to your LinkedIn profile. Now, from a networking perspective and also from a business development point of view, researching your prospects before you meet them can be hugely beneficial. So if you know, when we're obviously back doing face-to-face networking, the chamber will give you guest lists of who's going to be at the event, so you can have a look at people before you turn up. If you are going and doing business development meetings as part of your role, you can research someone on LinkedIn before you go and meet them. It's going to give you insights. You know, you might have gone to the same university, you might have grown up in the same town if you see information from schools. You might know people in common, so it just starts to help you build a picture and find some common ground. So we specialise in working with professional service businesses, so lawyers and accountants and financial advisors, as we all are, but they like to think possibly more than others that are very busy and they don't have time for LinkedIn. It's not part of what they do, it's not their job. It's really important, if you want LinkedIn to work for you, that you put the time into it. So whether that's 10 minutes each morning, whether it's Wednesdays are your quiet day, so you're going to spend some time on LinkedIn on Wednesday, whatever it is, the more effort you put into LinkedIn, the more you'll get out of it. One of the things you can see when you go into LinkedIn is your own stats on the left-hand side. There's a slide later that's going to show you this. And you will see quite quickly the return on investment from page views and engagements that you're getting by putting more effort into it quite early on. So it's quite rewarding that you'll get to see that it is having an impact. Are all of you members in groups? No? So you're allowed to be a member of up to 50 groups on LinkedIn. Again, this is a really useful place to learn. So if you, picking law again, if you're a member of the laws, if you join the Law Society group, you'll see content in there. If you're a member of the Chamber of Commerce, it's another great way to take your face-to-face networking virtually, and obviously that's all we're doing at the moment. So it's a good way of building relationships and sharing what it is you do. One of the best things about being a member of groups, though, is that if you're putting out really useful, engaging and interesting content, you can share your content into groups. When we, I think the best way to do this, because we're not showing slide shares at the moment. Let me see if I can share my... Caroline, can we just turn off your sharing for a minute so I can share my screen? So if I just show you. So with LinkedIn, if I were to go into our company page, so if you go to your company page and you view it as a member, I view as a member, and you pick a post that you want to share, it could be any post that's relevant. When you click on share, have most of you done this before? No? At the moment, that would share to anybody. But if I want to share it in a group, you just click on the group you want to share it in. This is a list of all the groups that I'm a member of. So the more groups you're a member of, the further you can share it. I don't think of one that's a good example. There are some in here, for example, that one. The Chartered Institute of Marketing have got something like 3,000 members. I'm not going to share this post, this is just for example. So I'd put some content in here that was relevant to that group to say, fellow marketers, this is something you really ought to be reading up on, or it might be an interesting tip, or whatever the content is. You put some extra text in there, and then I can post it. And if I did that to that group, all of those people that are in that group are going to get a notification that there's a new post. So within a matter of 60 seconds, really, it doesn't take that long at all, you're sharing your content to thousands of people. So this is really where LinkedIn can come into its own. And I know we've got a question later, which I will address. We don't do any advertising on LinkedIn because there's so much you can achieve without spending a penny. So this is a really targeted way of, for example, you're all Merton Chamber members. If you wanted to share your content to the membership, you can just go into the group and share it in there, and it's not cost you anything to do that. Are you okay to go back to the slides now, Caroline, please? I'll stop my share.
Give me 1 minute, I'll just get you. I think I've just gone out of it for some reason.
Out of interest, are any of you, because I've got you all in front of me at the moment, are any of you using groups in that way?
Some extent.
Yeah.
So I'm not using it in that way, but I am in a number of groups, and I've just added Merton Chamber Commerce as a group there. I had the page down, but I didn't realise there was a group, so that's a useful tip. Thank you.
And there's also, when I first started the business, my business partner wasn't used to the professional service sector. So she was able to use tools like LinkedIn to really upskill herself in a sector. So it might be that some of you have specialisms or want to develop a specialism in a particular sector. So by joining the groups that can give you that insight and that knowledge, it's a really good way from a kind of research and professional development point of view.
Can I just ask?
Yeah.
When you share on groups, can you only share one group at a time? Am I right?
Yeah, you used to be able to share to multiple groups, but and that is the other thing to really bear in mind. LinkedIn does, that's perfect, that one, thank you. LinkedIn does change its way of working a lot. So what I'm telling you today is correct as at today. But next week they could decide to change something again. So unfortunately, you used to be able to click, I think it was up to 5 groups, so you could share to tens of thousands of people in 60 seconds, but you can't anymore. You do have to do it per group. And in a way, that's probably beneficial because the messaging might be slightly different in each group, so you could tailor it a bit more.
And it's to stop spamming, presumably.
Yeah, and I think that's the key. I had an email, this drives me bonkers, about LinkedIn. In the main, LinkedIn is a brilliant tool, but there are people using it really poorly. And a perfect example of that this morning was having a new connection. I had a new person connect to me, and I happily accept most people as connections. Within a few minutes, she had sent me an email saying, this isn't a sales pitch, but we've got some amazing access to remortgage rates. Can you share your phone number with me so I can phone you and tell you about it? That's just not how to use LinkedIn. I don't really know her. I've only just connected with them. I'm sure you all agree, but I think it's worth spending a bit of time having your own strategy around how you're going to use LinkedIn and what you want to get out of it before going kind of all guns blazing with it. What I wanted to show you with this page, I mentioned earlier around LinkedIn statistics, and I know, I'm just going to have a quick look now. I know we've got a question in the chat about how you measure whether your time gives you a return. It's really difficult. Jonathan's probably sick of me saying about it being really hard to measure a return on investment from marketing, but it is more of a feeling. But what you can measure, as I mentioned, is the engagement of your posts. So on the left-hand side, as you'll see on this screen, I've just circled the views of my profile and the views of my post. So they're relatively high numbers because I've got quite a lot of connections. So don't feel bad if yours are lower than this. Again, it's something that you can build up. Keeping a really close eye on the views of your profile is really valuable because someone might be looking at your profile but not actually connecting to you for some reason. So you could then take the initiative and choose to connect with them yourself or send them a message to say, I see you've looked at my profile. Is there something I can help you with? And the views of your post, if you were to click into either of those, it will give you more data. So if you clicked into the number next to views of your posts, it will show you all of your posts and what level of engagement you've had for all of your past posts. And it helps start to create a picture for you as to what works better. And it always works better to tag people if it's relevant in your post. So we ran a virtual networking event last Friday. There were 30-something people on the call. So I tagged them all in the post to say what a good event it was. We'd raised money for charity, and that's the post that's had these 16,000 views. If you're going to tag somebody in a post, it will come up on their timeline as well. So you're going to improve the visibility of that. Can we go to the next slide, please, Caroline? So, and I'm sure you'll have all had these. This is quite a good one because it's actually personalised. Again, another bugbear of mine with LinkedIn is the impersonal LinkedIn requests. So I'm quite happy, as I mentioned, if I don't know somebody, to connect with them, but you just need to tell me why. So this guy's done a great job. He's explained that he's growing his network of marketing professionals and he wants to talk about collaboration. So I was happy to accept him. So just give some thought when you're sending LinkedIn requests. And this is a really interesting point for me as well. When I deliver this training, a lot of people say, well, I'm only connecting to people that I know. Is anyone here doing that? Are you only connecting to people you know? Sorry, I'm trying to see as many as I can. Yes, some. It's really limiting the benefit of LinkedIn for you if you only connect to the people you know. If that's your approach and that's what you want to do, fine. But if you think about, if you started to connect to people you don't know, how much wider that's going to make your network and enable you to spread your message. I think the key is, if you are connecting to people you don't know, to then get to know them. Particularly at the moment, it's a lot easier because people have a little bit more time because we're not spending hours commuting, to have a quick phone call or a Zoom chat or one-to-one, virtual one-to-one. So if you do connect to people you don't know, just make sure that you're adding that stage in, and then you can maintain your kind of strategy that you're only connected to people that you know. Next slide, please, Caroline. I have this slide in here for, again, because with the sectors we work with, they quite like doing things or knowing that people can't see their connections. So it was just to point out, in case you don't already know, with LinkedIn, you can stop people seeing who you're connected to. You can also stop them seeing that you've looked at their profile. The thing to remember is that with every action, there's a reaction with LinkedIn. So if you do turn off the ability for people to see that you've looked at their profile, you won't be able to see who's looked at your profile. If you stop people being able to see your connections, you won't be able to see their connections. Again, personally, for LinkedIn, I don't mind people seeing that I've looked at their profile. I don't care if they want to look at my connections. I am open about who my clients are on LinkedIn. I know some people are worried that if they say who their clients are, someone might come and steal them. But I think if you have a really good relationship with your clients, that shouldn't be a concern. And it's a benefit if you can talk about who your clients are and your clients are endorsing you online. That's going to be really powerful for you generating new business and building trust. Next slide, please, Caroline. So company pages. Do you all have a company page? Show of hands. Some. If you don't have one, get one set up. Jonathan, you have got one. It's there. If you don't have one, do get one set up. They have limited power, I guess, for want of a better word. Hartley Fowlers isn't bad. We've got quite small on here. We've got 453 followers now, which is pretty good. If you look at the likes of AXA or the kind of really national brands, they'll have tens of thousands of followers. At which point it's very worthwhile. I think the key is, even if you are a sole trader, one-man band, it's worth owning your company page and having some content on it, so posting to it every now and again, because people do look for it. Particularly if they've started engaging with you through LinkedIn, it's very easy for them to click through and get on a company page. And if they get on there and the only thing that's on there is the company name and an address, and you haven't owned it and put some branding on it, then there will be questions, a bit like 10 years ago when someone didn't have a website. It's the same situation now if you don't own your company page and there's no content on there. For those of you that are larger businesses, the real benefit of the company page is that it's your hub for information. So the way that Hartley Fowler will use this is that the whole team should be posting on their personal profiles, so they can go onto the company page, find something that's already been approved and share it to their personal profiles. So it's a really good tool for information. It's also, again, about owning your brand, and it helps with SEO. You can link through to your website. It's going to generate traffic. That's, again, something that you can measure. So whilst you can't really measure whether it's generating you any business, because it might take a longer time to achieve that, it will just show you whether it's generated traffic to your actual website. Next page, please, Caroline. So this is my favourite slide of all time, or favourite page for LinkedIn. Have any of you seen this page before? Yeah, some of you. Great, Graham. Graham, are you using this page? Just unmute yourself.
Yes. Yeah. I've got Sales Navigator, and that's
Okay.
we can debate the ins and outs of whether it's worth paying the additional fee, but it does make it much easier to target your ideal clients if you use Sales Navigator.
Yes, it does, absolutely. So you'll probably have some really valuable insights of using LinkedIn for business development if you're using Sales Navigator. At a very basic level, I've had the trial of it, Sales Navigator, because they give things for free to me every now and again. But I think you can still do so much for free that personally I haven't seen the value in doing it. But for example, this page, if you wanted to target estate agents and you wanted to go in at director level, you could go into this page, select real estate. Bear in mind it's an American website, which is why estate agency is real estate. You can go down into the position and put in director. You can select the location to be London. So you could find all the directors of estate agencies in London, again, within 60 seconds. And that's the point at which, if that was your target audience, you can go through and send them personalised connection requests to say why you want to engage with them. It obviously applies for all of the different sectors they've got there. So whatever it is that your relevant sector is, you can then do that searching. So really useful tool. If you want to find that page, you're literally going into the search bar at the top where it shows you there, and it will give you a drop down of people, and then you just click in all filters and it will bring that page up. Next page, please, Caroline. So just to talk very briefly, 4 other platforms that we've put on there. One of you mentioned, I think Stuart, you said LinkedIn's your Facebook for business. That's definitely obviously how people are using it. I think what's quite nice at the moment is LinkedIn is getting a little bit more personal. It's for me, it's a very fine line. I still don't think we should go too personal on LinkedIn. It is a professional platform, but you've got to try and bridge that gap between being the professional in your day job to actually being a person that someone wants to engage with and build a relationship with as well. So it's trying to find that happy balance. Twitter, do you all have Twitter accounts? With all of these, and Pinterest less so, but with all of them, our advice would be that you have the page, your company page, your individual profile, and you own it. So it's got the correct branding on it, it's got the correct messaging on it. And then it's really going to come down to who your target audience is as to whether it's the right platform for you. As I mentioned with ourselves, focusing on the professional service sector, all of our clients will have Twitter accounts. Most of them will have Facebook ones, but the Facebook messaging is going to be more about the people and their CSR policy, so what they do for charity and things like that. Very few of them will have Instagram accounts because it's so visual and there's very little visual that we can do for them. So again, it's about you understanding who your customer is and where they are. They've all got slightly different demographics as well in terms of male, female, age groups. All that information is out there, so you can do some looking into it to work out what the right platform for you is. Next slide, please, Caroline. So just some things to think about on social media in general. Use of grammar and spelling. LinkedIn's pretty good, but I don't know if you've all got personal Facebook profiles. I do quite a lot in the equestrian world in my personal life, and I don't know what it is about horsey people, but they can't spell. And just that kind of thing that it's a massive generalization, but that impression that it gives you if people are misspelling words or using incorrect grammar. Also remember the kind of what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. If you're drinking and social media from a work perspective, try not to do it. Charity is a great one, particularly on things like Facebook. People are more likely to engage with you if you're doing good. Political affiliations was particularly relevant last year with all the Brexit conversations. That's that kind of point around whether you want to be controversial or not. If you are going to be controversial, you will get engagement. It's just whether that fits with you as a person and your business and your brand. And then one of you mentioned earlier about using, or Jonathan mentioned earlier about using social media for recruitment. There's some massive stats of 79% of people hiring through LinkedIn. So really interesting stats on there, and there's a link to the page if you want to have a look at a bit more of that information. Next slide, please, Caroline. So one of the biggest challenges for people can be, what am I going to post about, particularly from a business perspective. So a really fantastic tool is Google Alerts. Do you all use it? No? Some of you. So it's a free tool. You can put in the word you want to get alerts on. So depending on what your industry is, you can choose the frequency, how many you want to get, and then it will email them to you. So a really fantastic free tool to use. Another thing to do, so if you'd asked me 3 months ago how we do social media, we would schedule stuff of weeks in advance for the following month, safe in the knowledge that that content would be relevant. But it just doesn't work like that anymore because things are changing on a day-by-day basis. So another really useful way of doing this, we've found, is again using Google, brilliant tool, is to put in the relevant term, whatever it is you're looking for, and then just to click on news in the Google search bar, and it will bring up everything that's relevant in the last couple of days. So that's from a third-party content perspective. So whatever your sector is, whatever it is you're promoting and you want to be seen as the expert in, using those search words will help you find relevant content that you can then add commentary to. Next slide, please, Caroline. Just an interesting website if you struggle with thinking of relevant hashtags for yourself. It's called #IfIMe. You put in the main term and it will come up with other ideas of relevant hashtags for you. I was on a call the other day with some other marketing experts, again in the professional service sector, but they were saying that the thinking is at the moment that you should never use more than 3 hashtags. I think sometimes people go a bit hashtag crazy. The other thing, and this is probably a more of a personal preference, a couple of the people on the call suggested that you shouldn't hashtag in the post, but you should do your hashtags at the end. I'm not sure about that myself because I quite like having them in the post, but what they were saying is they'll just skip to the hashtag, so they won't read the post if you put them in the post. They'll just skip between each one of them, so the content in between the hashtags gets lost. So just think about it when you're putting your post together, how you want them to look. Next one, Caroline, please. Do you all have a social media policy? No, some and some. You can get them online. You don't need to spend money on this, or you can just get a template off the internet and add in what's relevant to you. I think this is probably more relevant than ever, particularly if you have staff that are all working remotely, all kind of doing their own thing. It's really important to have it set down how you want your staff to be acting. Again, in the beginning, when we set the agency up 7 years ago, my colleague had come from the nursery, early years education side of things, and they had really strict rules around the staff weren't allowed to have photos on their own personal Facebook pages of them in uniform, because they tended to be 18, 19, 20-year-olds, and they were maybe doing things that they didn't want the parents to be seeing, so they weren't allowed to associate themselves with the business in their own personal Facebook pages. So just having a thought process of that. Again, when we get back to work and we're back in the office, it might be that you don't want them accessing certain social media platforms during the workday, but obviously that's got to be counterbalanced with what you want them to achieve for you. So we worked with a law firm that banned the lawyers using LinkedIn during the working day, but on the other hand, they wanted them to be sharing the company's content. So there was a complete disconnect between what the policy was saying and what they were trying to achieve. So just thinking that through so it's really clear for your staff. Next one, please, Caroline. So business development. Who here does business development as part of their job? Hands, all of you mainly. Have any of you been doing networking while this has been going on? Brilliant. So if we can flip to the next slide, Caroline, because it kind of feeds into the next one as well. with another hat on, I run a group of ladies' lunch clubs that we took virtual immediately as soon as this happened. So it's kind of the purpose of having these slides in here is to encourage you to embrace virtual networking. It's interesting to see none of you are using backgrounds on this call. Have any of you played with those? There's again, talking about controversial / interesting topics on LinkedIn, there was a lady yesterday who did a post saying, oh, lovely, Jonathan, who did a post saying, what's the thinking about Zoom backgrounds? Should we be using them? We haven't put any time or effort particularly into it yet, but there's a couple of virtual ones that I have got. For example, we've got some branding. You have to sit really still, otherwise you get to start to see a bit of distortion. So there are ways you can use them, but interestingly, the thoughts from this post, and she had about 64 comments on it at the point that I read through them, the consensus was not to bother. People quite like being nosy apparently as well at this time, and they like seeing people's houses, which yeah, I kind of get that. And it's interesting, Karine, you've got your banner in the background, because I was thinking of going and picking mine up from the office actually and doing something similar. I think that's probably, for me, that's the way to go with the backgrounds. But it's also thinking about image, and as tempting as it might be to get up in the morning and not get out of pajamas, obviously not coming on a call too dishevelled, thinking about how you would want to look when you were actually in a face-to-face networking environment, and also what your messaging is. It's more important than ever now that you can get across who you are, how someone can help you really succinctly. So I was going to tell you about this earlier on, but I like throwing people in at the deep end, as Jonathan would tell you. So I said to Caroline and Diana yesterday that we should use this as an opportunity for you all to network if you want to. So I would like to give you the opportunity to do a 30-second who you are and how everyone here can help you. I'm going to come back to this once I've gone through all the slides, so you can have a little think now, if you want to do it, and if you do want to do it, what you're going to say. So when I get to the question section of the presentation, I'm going to ask each of you to do a 30 seconds. You can pass, that's completely okay, but bear in mind it's an opportunity. Within your 30 or 60-second pitch, whatever it is you're given at the networking event, it is so important to have a really clear and succinct ask. A few times when I've been on my networking calls, someone has said, I don't understand what you mean, what's an ask? And we've had wildly varying ones. For me, I wouldn't be asking for a client right now, because our clients will be spending several £1,000s a month. Most people aren't going to have that budget if they didn't have it before this situation. So actually, I'm going to pick something easier. So I'm going to ask people to follow me on LinkedIn, or follow my company page, or follow my Twitter page, or something like that. It's really easy for them to do. And ultimately, they're going to get to know me better as a result. They're going to get to know my agency better as a result. We'll build up know, trust, and like, at which point they will either be happy to buy from me or they will be happy to refer me. So think about making the ask really easy for people to do and clear. And then the other thing with the networking, and I had to have a chat with my own team about this afternoon, is remembering to have follow-up one-to-ones. Again, it's a lot easier for us to do right now because we can just schedule a Zoom call following the meeting to have a virtual coffee with someone and find out a bit more about what they do. So a really great way to grab more value out of your networking. Does I have the next slide, Caroline? So the other thing, I was having a positive week last week, and don't be wrong, like everybody, I'm having good weeks and bad weeks. But last week, we actually had the opportunity to do 2 pitches to people. So I think just because we are all at home and not doing our normal business development or normal way of winning business, finding a new way to do your prospecting. So one of the tools that I wanted to highlight to you guys was Calendly. Have any of you used it? No? So it can link with your own calendar. It's a cloud-based, it can also link with Zoom in your calendar. So if any of you ever have an email from me, at the bottom of my email signature, I've got a book a 30-minute marketing call, and you can click on that link and it knows what's in my diary, so it won't let you book an appointment when I've already got something on. it automatically links with Zoom, so you get a Zoom link. It goes in your diary and it goes in my diary. So it's a fantastic tool. There is a free option, but even the paid for option is only £10 a month. So have a look at using tools like that. If you're going to do some planned email communications, again, it's all about making it as easy as possible for people at the moment, because whilst they don't possibly want you picking up the phone selling to them or overtly selling to them at all, by offering a free advice call or just a one-to-one over coffee virtually, people are more likely to pick up on that, particularly because we're all a little bit bored of our own company. Actually having a one-to-one with somebody new, it is an interesting thing to do at the moment. And then think about how, whilst usually you might be face-to-face with somebody and getting your point across, how else can you make sure that what you do looks good? Do you need to enhance your proposal document? Could you create some video? So we've had some really good success recently with actually sending out email communications with video in it, because again, it's getting across that personality and building that relationship. Next slide, please, Caroline. So who's up for doing a 30 seconds? If you're happy, Caroline, I'll just go through everybody that I can see, and obviously if you don't want to do it, you can just pass. Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Karine, are you happy to do a 30 seconds? Just take yourself off mute and then you can go.
Hi everyone, my name's Karine. I'm the editor of Darling magazine. We've been around for 11 years, serving the communities in Southwest London. We do a print issue here on the cover. That was for spring. We can't print in summer for obvious reasons. We're going strong on. We have a beautiful website, and I'd love people to darlingmagazine.co.uk. We're very positive, we're upbeat, we know people have to keep marketing their businesses. Hopefully when we do this in a couple of weeks, we'll be sort of getting back to normal. Thank you, my time's up. Darling magazine, thank you.
Thank you, Karine. Sorry, I should have said I'll hold up when we get to 30 seconds.
Okay.
I'm going to go to Maxine and then to Jonathan after Maxine. Would you like to go, Maxine? Would you like to do 30 seconds? Yeah, good girl.
Hi, my company's a soft furnishing company. I specialise in interior design and soft furnishings, predominantly handmade. So I'm kind of looking for people who are moving house or business developers, upmarket, I don't know if that's the right expression, kitchen designers, bathroom designers. Okay.
You can keep going. You can keep going but just for future reference with everybody, when I do that, it just means you need to wrap it up. Don't feel like you need to stop mid-flow. Thank you though, Maxine. Jonathan, I should record this, shouldn't I?
Be quick. Jonathan Askew, partner at Hartley Fowler Accountants. We've got 3 offices across the south, about 60 employees, from very small clients to some quite big ones. Patron member of the chamber, so we sponsor a lot of the stuff. Lara's our actual marketing expert as well. At the moment, there's a load of stuff on our website about the coronavirus and business support and the various grants you can get and furloughing employees. So if you have a look, you can download. There's guides that I think Lara will testify we've updated 4 times in about a week now as the rules change. So if you want any help or support, it's all on there. Yeah.
Thank you, Jonathan. We'll go to Stuart Rolfe and then to Alan Buchanan.
Yeah, hi, it's Stuart Rolfe, Director of Commercial Property at Andrew Scott Robertson. We're Wimbledon's independent estate agents and chartered surveyors at 2 offices, one in the town, one in the village. I'm on the commercial side, so I head up the commercial agency division of the company, but we also provide professional services, formal valuations, inheritance tax valuations, advice on leases, rent reviews, lease renewals. And we're finding that at the moment we're getting a lot of inquiries from existing clients and new with regards to options in the current climate, rent payments and other such matters. So follow me on LinkedIn, and if I can't help you, then one of my colleagues will, and we'd be delighted to help you further. Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart. Alan?
Hi, Alan Buchanan. I run a broadcast engineering agency. I work predominantly in broadcast television. So we basically have engineers that work on projects for people like Sky, the BBC, BT Sport. Tends to be a lot of sports channels. And I'm looking to just expand our agency and possibly looking at new areas. What this current situation has done is taken away a lot of the work that we would normally do this time of year, which would be outside broadcasts, such as Wimbledon tennis and Chelsea Flower Show, etc., etc. So we're just looking to expand the business in different areas, and please follow me on LinkedIn. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Sue Wildgoose and then Graham.
Hi everyone. So I'm a director at a company called Mailsell. We're quite a niche business. We primarily sell long-range communications to the leisure yachting industry. So many of our customers have also found themselves in lockdown in various remote places. We are a general communications company though, so we are keen to expand our business and help either private individuals working from home or businesses who are maybe struggling with their home broadband. So you can follow us on Facebook. We are Mailsell. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Graham?
Good morning. I'm an experienced coach, mentor and consultant. I developed my expertise working for Accenture and Carney. I help entrepreneurial executives in legal firms, other consulting businesses and technology services businesses to solve their management problem when they're stuck. The three problems I tend to get asked to help most with are growing revenues, introducing and initiating change, and reducing costs. I'd be delighted to connect with anybody here on LinkedIn, so please send me a connection request.
That's lovely, thanks Graham. Oh, I'm going to struggle with pronouncing this. Kovilan?
Hi, my name is Kovilan. I'm Jonathan's mentee, and I'm a student second year in biomedical science. So I'm just looking to see how the professional world works and happy to learn from you guys.
Thank you, Kovilan. Seamus?
Hi,
Seamus?
It's Seamus, yeah, hi there. Yeah, Seamus Murphy from Kudo. We are a communications cloud provider. I'm looking to boost my network and also Kudo's network locally, so please add me, please get in contact. We're actually, at the moment, because we are a cloud service provider, we're actually finding a lot of business, talking to a lot of people about how they use their services at the moment. We can provide a lot of help to people with working from home, and yeah, just doing things differently now. It works. Thank you.
Thank you, Seamus. Julia?
Hi, I'm the registered manager of Naked Health MediSpa, which is in Coombe Lane. We merge beauty, aesthetics and medical treatments. We're CQC registered. We're obviously closed at the moment, but our medical director, who's also my husband, was senior consultant at St George's Hospital, plastics and reconstruction, and he's at the moment offering the community free advice online, burns, minor injuries, moles and things, if you don't want to go to casualty, or your GP if you're struggling, if you phone us. So just, follow us on Facebook or Instagram if that's anything you're interested in.
Lovely. Thank you, Julia. We'll go to Patrick and then to Kay.
Hi, I'm Patrick Orr. I'm a company commercial solicitor at Orr Litchfield. We focus on business law with a particular focus on corporate commercial transactional work, dispute resolution and intellectual property. Personally, I tend to deal with new developing businesses and those looking to either exit or buy other businesses. But obviously at the moment we're doing a lot of continuity planning and assisting businesses survive, really, reorganize. So.
Thanks, Patrick. Can we go to Kay and then to Tanya?
Oh, hi. Yes, I'm an international event manager. I work in the pharmaceutical sector. It's obviously not much work for me right at this moment. I'm interested in connecting with anybody. Who knows who you may have in your network who might be interested in my services, or in my network who might be interested in yours.
That's lovely, Kay. Definitely would endorse that strategy. We go to Tanya and then to Marjan.
Oh yes, hi. My name is Tanya. I am, from ACE Web Studio. We're dealing with everything web related, with your website, with its maintenance, with its security. So just nowadays, I think it's getting very, very relevant. So just your web presence and how you can communicate with your customers through your website and platform. So just if any questions or anything we can help with, it's info@acewebstudio.com. Please call us. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. We go to Marjan and then to Rada.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Good morning, Laura. Thanks a lot for the session. Yes, my name is Marjan. I'm the founder and owner of Blue Wave Swim School. I can't have the back, sorry, for you, but I got the mug for coffee. And yes, I've been in connection with Merton Chamber of Commerce for 10 years. I know majority of the people on the call today. Nice to see everybody. Of course, my business completely is on hold, and swimming pools and swimming is going to be the last thing that government is going to shift the restrictions from. So at the moment, I'm looking into how to stay connected with the parents, finding new ways through online courses.
Thank you, Marjan. Rada?
Hello everyone, nice to see some of you that I haven't seen for a while. My name is Raida and I'm a brand experience and user experience design specialist. I have my own consultancy called Experience Consultancy. I offer consultancy advice to my clients as well as training courses. And I've been delivering courses with the Chamber. And I also work as a lecturer at Kingston University. So specializing, as I said, in branding design, user experience design, and design thinking for innovative products and services. I'll be happy to connect with you via LinkedIn and hopefully speak to some of you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Rada. Caroline, Diana, I didn't know if you wanted to say anything.
I will always take the opportunity to say something. Thank you. So I just wanted to say, Reach Out and Connect from Merton Chamber of Commerce is our way of enabling businesses to get through this terrible times, connecting you, giving you information, up-to-date news, and also lobbying on behalf of businesses to local government and national government. We have 3 LinkedIn groups, which we would love you to engage with. That's the Merton Chamber group, our Climate Action Network, and the Wimbledon Young Professionals group, and we would love to see dialogue in there. So, and Caroline might want to say something about our next Reach Out and Connect. Go on.
So we're continuing our networking events online now. So we've got on Friday morning a breakfast, so it's a free breakfast, so there is such a thing. So if you want to join us Friday morning at 9 o'clock, there is a Reach Out and Connect session on the website. So please do book on for that. And also I'll just ask you to just spread the word as well, to let people know that we are here supporting businesses locally. And it's through our membership that we can help support you, hopefully to get through all of this. So thank you very much.
Lovely, thanks, Caroline. So a couple of things to add or to say off the back of your kind of 30 seconds and 60 seconds. I know there's a couple of questions in the group chat as well, which I'll get to whistle through in the next 5 minutes. So thanks very much for getting involved in doing that. One of the things that I say to my clients all the time, and I've only had 2 do it in 7 years, is to record yourself. So practice your 60 seconds, really nail what it is you want to say. Some people are much stricter with the 30 seconds and 60 seconds thing, but it's really impressive if you can nail exactly who it is, what you're about, and what your ask is in a 30-second snapshot or a 60-second snapshot, whatever it is that you're given, and try and think of a structure to it. So I was in a business incubator group about 5 years ago with NatWest, and they really drilled home we had to be able to deliver 60-second presentations, 3 minutes and 5 minutes. So a lot of the businesses in there were trying to get funding, so it was really important that they could get across what they were trying to achieve. So think about a hook, something that might be interesting that people don't otherwise know, that suddenly gets them to listen and think about you. And as I say, it's really important to have that ask in there so that people know how they can help you. And feeding in with which was the lady that said about it. So I think Kay said about you don't know who you don't know. You don't know who she might know. There was a really, I don't know whether it's a bit of a folklore thing now, but there was a story that BNI put out that a lady or a gentleman wanted to draw the Queen's corgis, and through BNI, nobody in the room knew how to do that, but through the connections that the people in the room had and the connections that they had, that they got an opportunity to do that. So you never know who people might know. So connecting with people who on face value might not be who you're targeting, they might know somebody that would be someone of interest to you. So do always bear that in mind. If any of you want to do a little video and send it to me or comment or feedback, really happy to do that. And if you're really brave, I'm even happy to share it digitally. So, the challenge is set down for you. Looking at the questions in chat, I can't, I'm afraid, help with LinkedIn advertising. As I said at the beginning, we don't do it for the very reason I think there's so much that you can do with LinkedIn for free. I know when I get the adverts, I don't like it, which again is one of the reasons why I haven't gone down that road. But there are specialists for advertising on the social media platforms. And I think if you're going to look at advertising on any of the social media platforms, do talk to one of the marketing specialists that is out there that does it. In terms of posting videos on LinkedIn, I think they are a good idea. I think if you're going to do video, do it wider than just LinkedIn. If you create video, think about sending it via an email communication as well as on your social media platforms. Then there's a question, issue of posting an outside link on a post or in comments. So there was some conversation last week about actually sharing content from a company page. I don't think there is an issue with sharing an outside link in a post. So that one that had 1,600 views, that had an outside link in it to Eventbrite, but we are investigating it at the moment. So I'm very happy to update Diana and Caroline when we find out if there is anything around that. We dealt with the measuring return a little bit earlier. Sadly, it's very difficult to measure return unless you have a product and you can have a link directly to buy that product. I think most of us are all service industries, so it's quite difficult for us to measure a return because someone might not have a need for what we do at the moment that you're putting out the information. Jonathan, I don't think the premium plan is worth it. It may well be that other people have different points of view. As Graham mentioned earlier, if he's got Sales Navigator, he is paying for it. But I think if you're going to put the time and effort into it, then it may well be worth paying for it. But all of the people that I work with, it's a struggle just getting them to use the basics of LinkedIn. So I think once you've got to the point where you can't do any more with LinkedIn because you've maxed out every opportunity it gives you, then it's probably worth looking at the paid for plans. And if you are using LinkedIn really proactively, they'll often give you a free trial. So when you get to that stage of having maxed it out, they'll give you a free trial and then you can assess for yourselves whether it's worth upgrading. What type of video will be good for LinkedIn in the current climate? So I think a 60 seconds. I think as well with social media and with anything from a marketing perspective, it's about being the first person to be doing these things, because give it a couple of weeks. If everyone's chucking 60-second videos on LinkedIn, it'll be done. People will be bored of it. If you're one of the first people to do it, it's going to get more engagement, it's going to get more shares, you're going to have those conversations. But if you're one of the late adopters to it, you've kind of already missed the opportunity. So I think things that where you can share advice, anything like that, if you're sharing things that are helpful for people, that would work from a video perspective. But make it easy for yourself and actually just introduce who you are and what you do, and the fact that you'd like to have one-to-one meetings maybe. So that's all the questions that I've got in there. I'm really happy for Caroline and Diana to share my details, connect to me on LinkedIn. I love talking about marketing stuff, so pick my brains for free. I don't mind. We have a little bit of time, a bit extra time than we'd otherwise have at the moment, so I'm always happy to do that. And thank you so much for engaging and joining in this morning. And look at that.
Thank you.
Bang on time.
Yeah, look at that. Thank you so much, Lara. And just to wrap up, I did want to let everyone know that we have recorded this session, and as a part of networking and getting the word out there, we would like to share that. So if you do have any issues with your details and obviously your input into the session, please let us know by return if you can, because we like to get these recordings out there. I mean, one thing I've learned today, Lara, is, as a Chamber of Commerce is a small business ourselves, it's time, isn't it? It's the energy and time that we have to put into LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and our websites and all of that. And I think we all have to navigate in terms of the return that we get. And I think what you've really done today is give us some very useful insights as to how you can use LinkedIn as a more targeted tool rather than just a way of building connections and not actually doing anything with it. So thank you for that. There's an awful lot of detail there, so I think we all need to go away and do a bit of practice, don't we? I certainly do anyway. But thank you. If anyone does have any other questions or points, just please email them into the chamber and we can link you. And as Lara says, she's provided her details as well. As Caroline said, our next Reach Out and Connect is actually this Friday morning. That is purely a networking breakfast meeting with a little concentration on Rains Park. And then next week, we have our local MP for Wimbledon, Stephen Hammond, and we also have the Small Business Minister, Paul Scully, which I know is already a very popular session. I think with the announcement yesterday of more loans, taxpayer-backed loans coming out to businesses from Monday, I think, that there will be a lot of detailed questions around that. So we anticipate that to be very popular. And as I said, our aim is really to enable the dialogue, to enable businesses to find out what you need to find out to help your businesses survive, get through this and come out stronger and better. So thank you everyone for your participation today. Have a good day, and we'll be in touch soon. Thank you.